Coach Herm Edwards joins us live at 5:15 every Monday. Armen Levack, 104.5 The Team, 104.5theteam.com. Thanks to McLean Food Service. Coach, thanks for joining us today. And moments ago, Rex Ryan named Michael Vick the starter for the Jets Sunday in Kansas City. Coach Edwards, is that the right decision from Rex Ryan and the Jets?
You're asking the wrong guy. I'm not the head coach. Rex Ryan makes those decisions, and I think he made a decision with either way, whether it was Geno Smith or Michael Vick. He didn't let it fester. He made a decision now going into the work week, so that is put to bed. Mike Vick will get all the reps. Obviously, Geno will get the backup reps just in case Mike Vick struggles or get hurt. But I think going forward, when you look at this team, even last week against the Buffalo Bills, they ran the ball for 175 yards. 47% on third down, 100% when they got in the red zone, but errors, penalties, and 6 turnovers. Obviously, you're not going to win a lot of games doing that.
What does this do for the Jets moving forward? Does this mean Geno's basically done as the starter in New York?
Well, I don't know that. I just know going forward right now, they feel like that Mike Vick, when he got in there, even though he turned the ball over, he moved the team and they put some points on the board. So that's critical. Part of it, you got to be able to score points, especially with this defense. I mean, if you can get a lead with this defense, now they've given up a lot of touchdown passes. But as far as running the football, very difficult to run on them. But on the other side of it, 22 touchdowns they've already given up as a secondary. So, this is where they struggle. But I think Michael Vick going forward is the guy. Geno Smith's career over? I don't know if it's over. I hate to say that on a young guy so early in his career. We've seen this happen to guys before. Alex Smith obviously got hurt in San Francisco, and his spot was taken by Kaepernick, and now Alex Smith is a pretty good quarterback. We look at him play for Kansas City.
Coach Herm Edwards, brought to you by McLean Food Service with Armen Levack on 104.5 The Team. Then, Coach, what do you take out of Geno Smith's 4 drives yesterday, in which 3 of them he threw an interception? It looked like he was staring down the wide receivers, overthrew Eric Decker on that 3rd interception. What do you take out of what you saw from Geno yesterday in that first quarter?
Well, he's inconsistent, and that's kind of been who he has been thus far in his career. He has some really nice bright spots. I thought last week he played, fairly well. He didn't turn the ball over, move the team. They didn't win the game, but I thought he did some things good enough going forward to continue to do that. That was a plus. Now this week he fell back into the trap of making some bad decisions with the ball, some errant passes, and you turn it over. And it's tough when you start turning that ball over. It's also how good your defense is. It just poses a problem. Now historically, his history, his DNA is a guy that says he's going to turn over. If you look at it, how many times he's turned over in his career, it's starting to mount up.
Coach, the other New York team, John Beeson, we found out today he's elected to have surgery on his foot, done for the year. What's it like for a team to lose a captain, especially a linebacker so important to the defense?
Well, anytime you lose any player, but obviously you say a captain, he's captain of the defense. He really helped them coming in last year. It's kind of like losing a quarterback. You lose your starting quarterback. It's very difficult. Guys are getting the huddle, and he's the guy, the signal caller. He's played in a lot of football games, been a very good player, and now you got to put another guy in there, and so it's always tough. There's a reason there's a starting lineup. It's not by chance. You don't roll numbers out there and say these guys could start this week. They're your best players, and when you lose one of those guys, they're hard to get back.
Coach Herm Edwards, Armen Levack on 104.5 The Team. Sorry, Levack. Sorry, Coach. I got to go back on the Jets just with all the news today in that area. Coach, how do you know, as a head coach, how do you know when to say, you know what, I've given this rookie enough opportunities, it's time to move on? As a talent evaluator, as yourself, just in the past, not Geno specifically, but just as a head coach, how do you know when you are 100% at a comfort level to say, man, it's just not going to work with this guy? How do you know that?
Well, it's very difficult. It's difficult in the sense that you got a guy that's a talented player, but here again, he's had the problem to turn the ball over. And we say this every year. If he can not turn it over, he's got a chance. And his problem has been he's turned the ball over now. Whether he gets another chance in New York, I don't think his career is over by any stretch of the imagination. I think his mental toughness now will be tested on where he goes from here. Because right now, when you look at him, He's still a young guy. He has a lot of talent. But he's had the problem of turning the football over, and he's got to find a way to not do that. And easier said than done for some guys. But he's got too much talent where he won't get another opportunity. I think we see this all the time, especially at the quarterback position. So I think moving forward, Rex, his job is to try to win games. And when you get a quarterback to turn the ball over, eventually that affects the whole football team.
Coach Herm, we heard from John Idzik today, general manager. This is one small clip.
I don't know a word to describe it. It's gut-wrenching. It's brutal. You feel like you've been punched in the face. It's painful.
Coach, as tough as it is for fans to watch and to handle this right now, can you give us an idea or mindset of what it's like to be a coach or a player on a team that is 1-7 to start the season?
I've been there. I've lived this life. It's very difficult, and I think the thing you got to realize is that it's not about the games you played. It's about the ones you're about to play and how you prepare and how you have to be the strength of the organization as a head coach. And Rex will do that. He'll do a great job of motivating these guys. They get another opportunity to win another game, and that's the great elixir about football. Every week you get to what I say, put your work in, prepare, and every week's a different week. It really is. And regardless of what your record is, you have an opportunity to win a game this week, and there's nothing like winning. I mean, when you win and when you're a coach, you really feel bad for the players because of all the work they put in, and you want them to feel the joy of winning a game and what it feels like. So I've been down this road before with teams. When you're struggling at the quarterback position, the whole team struggles for the most part, and it's tough, but that's part of the NFL.
So, Coach, what do you tell them when you look at the guys in the eyes? They're 1-7. Are they playing for themselves now and trying to get personal goals? Or are you still trying to win as a team? What do you tell these guys to just get them up, to get them ready? Is that your responsibility as a head coach at this point?
Well, your responsibility is to make sure that they have an obligation to each other in the locker room. I think that's what locker rooms are all about. It's about guys understanding that, hey, I'm playing for the guy next to me, and all the work you guys have put in. And this thing started after the draft. Of all the preparation, all the work these guys have put in, and you look at your season right now, you're sitting there at 1-6, and you're going, hey, man, this is not a lot of fun. We can sign on for this, and all it takes is one win to change the whole attitude of the locker room. And I think you as a head coach, you got to make sure you come in there every day, and Rex will do this along with his staff, and be upbeat and don't listen to what everybody's saying, because they're not there. They're not in the building with the players, and this is part of it. It's tough. We see teams happen to them every year. Different teams they go through this, and you always think that when they're going through it, I wonder what it feels like. I hope I don't have to go through it. But if you coach in this business long enough, you're going to hit some rough spots as a coach and as a team, and these are the things you got to deal with.
Coach, the team that was the beneficiary of everything going wrong for the Jets yesterday, the Bills. They're now 5-2. How good is this Bills team? Did they just look good because the Jets looked that bad, or what are we looking at in Buffalo?
Well, I think they've got to get a run game established, because if you look at them yesterday, they took advantage of turnovers, which was smart, but really didn't score as many points as maybe you think they should have when you get that many turnovers, 6. Kyle Orton only threw the ball 17 times, so. That kind of show you what this turnover thing was all about. The turnovers really put them in positions where they didn't have to throw it a whole lot. The run game was okay. Now, they were playing against a good run defense. But going forward, I think we know that Sammy Watkins is a dynamic player. We saw him yesterday. They've got some pieces on this offense. They've got a really good defense. They can rush the quarterback. They're stout for the most part against the run, even though the Jets ran the ball. But this is a team going forward. When you look at the division they're in, competing against the New England Patriots. And, about 4 weeks ago, everybody was writing Tom Brady and this team off when they went down to Kansas City and got beaten. Now, all of a sudden, I don't know if anybody was looking, they scored 51 points yesterday. So I don't think they've gone anywhere. So whoever was writing Tom Brady and Bill Belichick off, I hope they just wrote it in pencil. If you wrote it in pen, boy, you can't get that mark off your paper right now.
Well, Coach Herm Edwards, brought to you by McLean Food Service. Well, Coach, we have Bills fans calling in today telling us that we are not giving the Bills enough credit, that we are giving too much credit to the dismay and the mess that the Jets are at the moment, and not giving enough credit to the Bills. I'm just looking at them at 5-3. I mean, I feel like we don't know who they are yet. Do you feel like you know how good the Bills are yet, like you said, in the competitive division that they're in the AFC East?
Well, I think they can have a dominant defense up front.
Okay.
They've got some good secondary players. They got a dynamic wide receiver. They've got a quarterback, Kyle Orton. If you give him time in the pocket, he can make some throws, but you got to protect him. He's not going to get outside the pocket and make a bunch of throws. They've got to get their running game going by the end of November and December, because the weather's going to change. And I think if they can run the football, which they were doing early in the season, they got a chance. I mean, they're good enough to compete. They're 5-3. I mean, 5-3 that's a lot of wins. You know, halfway through it, if you could say, hey, could we be 5-3 after 8 games? Will we take it? You know, 90% of the teams will take it. Say, hey, 5-3 is great. Now we got 8 more games. Do the math. Can you win 5 out of 8? That's the math. If you win 5 out of 8, you win 10. You're 10-6. 90% of the chance you're going to the playoffs. Now, the problem they got is they were in the AFC. There's 12 teams over there with 4 to 5 to 6 wins. And now you're competing to try to win your division against New England. But you're also competing against all these other teams that are wild card teams. That's the key. I mean, you know, the AFC North, all of a sudden, you got, 3 teams over there, maybe even 4 if you want to count Cleveland with 4 wins. So, you know, you're now all of a sudden games count. I mean, you can't lose a game that you should win, because you don't get that game back. You're running out of games, and it's a race to 10. I mean, that's the number, guys. It's a race to 10. The team that gets to 10 first has the ability to not only get in the playoffs, but win their division. Because if you can stack more than 10 with 11 or 12, you're probably going to win your division.
Coach, you brought up the run game. Is a chance that the Giants get Jeff Schwartz back on their offensive line and they get Rashad Jennings back. With those guys, does this become a wild card contender for the Giants?
They got to win next week really bad. But, you know, they're over there in a division. In the NFC, not as many teams. I believe there's 10 teams over there. When you look at the teams with 4 wins, you got Seattle with 4, San Francisco with 4. They've got to win this week so they can get to 4. And then you're dealing with Dallas, the Eagles. Obviously, somebody's going to win a division in the South. 7 wins might win it, maybe even 8. And then the NFC West, you know, you're Arizona. We talked about Seattle and San Francisco. So I don't know if they can win a division. I don't think they'll catch Dallas or the Eagles. They got a chance to be a wild card team, but they got to win some games. This game they play, they got to get to 4-4. You don't want to be 3-5.
Coach Herm Edwards, brought to you by McLean Food Service on 104.5, the team with Armen Levack. Coach, Jerry Reese, general manager of the Giants, spoke today, was asked about the Giants' offense, says he wants them to be more aggressive, to go downfield more. Do you see that when you see this Giants' offense and the way that it's progressing?
Well, Beckham is a guy that can obviously make big plays. Now, this offense is, you know, it'll take some shots, but it's not built to do that. It's a West Coast-style offense. It's the Bill Walsh imprint of, you know, quick passing game, get the ball out of their hand, make plays in space when you get guys in space. But they can take some shots. I mean, they got enough guys to take shots. They got a tight end that can run down the seam, that can threaten your seam. But it's easy to say that's what you want to do. You know, what you want to do is win. I mean, what does it take to win a game? And every week there's a different plan. And when the teams that understand that and have good plans going into every week, they have the best chance to win. They're not built to do that. That was the old Giants. That philosophy changed. And I think sometimes, you know, all of a sudden now, you know, they're 3-4. When they were on this roll of winning some games, everybody was excited. Now they want to take more shots. Well, that's nice, you know, to say, but understand who you are. And I think Coach Coughlin understands that. With Jennings and them coming back, that's going to help them tremendously, because that will open the playoffs to pass them.
Coach, the Bears go out and they get Lamar Houston, free agent who had been in Oakland, try to solidify that defensive line. They're getting absolutely whooped by the Pats. He gets a meaningless sack, gets up, celebrates, and blows out his ACL. Like, as a coach, do you just lose your mind with this kid?
Why would I do that?
Because he's celebrating what
I'm not a fan. Maybe fans get all upset with those guys. I don't, you know. I mean, what am I supposed to say? I mean, When a guy jumps up in there, you don't think he's going to blow his ACL out. I mean, a guy could trip and blow his ACL out. I get it. I mean, we look at things and as fans, and we say, oh, I wouldn't have done that. That's the reason that fans watch and players play. There's a reason for that. And I don't think we want to rip a player because he jumped up in there. We can say, well, the score, Well, I see a lot of fans, do silly stuff too, and I go, why were they doing that? They just do it. I don't know why.
All right, Coach, last question, because we're getting these tweets in for you, #AskHerm, and our listeners keep telling me the Jets should tank. The Jets need a tank so they can get a high draft pick. How do you express to a fan that you were just talking to, how do you express to a fan or respond to a fan when they say, my team needs a tank so we can get a high draft pick? That's not how it works, is it?
Last time I checked, it doesn't work that way. I just think that I can understand fans saying that. They want a high pick. But there's too much put into this. As I said, you start this process when the season's over. I mean, evaluating your team, acquiring free agents, draft, you go to training camp. I mean, you have an obligation, I would think, to fans and to all the players in that locker room that you prepare to win a game. I mean, that's you're a professional football player. I mean, that's what you sign on to do. You don't sign on to, when you get halfway through the season, say, hey, we're tapping out. That's it. You can't do that. I mean, that's not logical. I mean, for me, I mean, I wouldn't want to be around people like that. That all of a sudden it gets hard, now you want to quit. I mean, we have a way of doing that. When things get difficult, we look at we want to get to the future before we go through the process of getting there. And there's a process of you got to go through. You got to play, these games out, and you got to try to win. And that's what this thing's all about. So I don't understand. I can understand fans being upset and want the first round pick, and hey, that's their right. They can feel that way.
Coach Herm Edwards, brought to you by McLean Food Service every Monday, 5:15. Coach, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.